Thirsty Tuesday. Well, it's Thirsty Thursday. It's with Carmen Stevens. Good evening, Carmen. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm especially excited. I think most of the Naked office, the energy, well, we're not in an office, but we're very well connected. But today is one of the big days that we all look forward to and have been fortunate to look forward to for the past 6 years. And it is to kick off Carmen's Kids fundraising, which is something that we're very special to be part of, which was brought to you by us. So there's a very good energy, a very good vibe. Everyone's sort of excited, lots of communication, and now we get to share all that enthusiasm with all the angels who are tuning in on Zoom and on Facebook and Instagram. So thank you everyone for attending. You've given up your Anton deck or whoever's on telly on a Thursday night to listen to Carmen and I, or rather listen to Carmen tell you exactly how important her charity is and which role you can play in it. So let us know where you are around the UK, and we've got the chat room there. Say good evening, tell us what you're drinking, and as we go through the evening, I'm going to share a few updates with you about how you can participate, and all that we can continue the chat in the chat room. Equally, we've got the Q&A section there, and Carmen and I will make sure we leave enough time towards the latter half of this 1 hour session to take some of your questions. And as you know, this has been going since 2015 with Naked Wines. Carmen, you've been doing it since 2011. So there's lots to talk about, and I'm sure you will have lots of questions. So get involved, everyone. We're only here actually since 2015. We're only here because of the massive contribution, energy, and engagement from angels who gave up their lunch. We used to ask them to give up their lunch, £3 every day, every March, once a year. And so far things are going stratospheric. So we're going to come back to that, talk through it. But Carmen, last time I spoke to you, as it happens, was only about a week or two ago. We were on with Johan and Brever, but sure, it's happy hour. I'll take 2 Carmens in a week or two. Thank you very much. So you were just rushing in the door from Harvest. You were just finished pressing grapes. So just as people are settling in, and before we get stuck into the main event, which is obviously about your Carmen Stevens Foundation, just tell us, where are you in the world of Harvest? Where are things?
Fantastic. Thank you, Ray. Thank you for the opportunity. Hi, everybody. Hi, all the angels, archangels, all the Naked staff. It's very nice to be able to share with you where we're at and what we're up to. So I actually, Ray, tonight I brought with me a sample. Well, 2 little samples, might look like something else, but it's actually
That's legal.
It's actually Sauvignon Blanc. We picked this on the 13th of February this year. It's fermented. It is a blended. The final blend is a combination of 5 different components.
Yeah.
And I blended this last week, and I made it protein stable, where you add clay to make sure that it doesn't settle out in the bottle. And so I have in my glass the 2021 Katoria Sauvignon Blanc, and I want to say to you, it's been an excellent Sauvignon Blanc here in South Africa.
Oh, that's good to hear. So on a scale of 1 to 11, where would you put it?
12, right? 12.
Let's set you up for that one, Carmen. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, well, so I think we'll probably see that. What are we now? Beginning of April. It could be a mid-July kind of drink. People sitting in their back garden, drinking 2021, thinking of South Africa, and hopefully reflecting on all the money and contribution that they're about to hand over this evening to support your foundation. So look, why don't we just go back very briefly, Carmen, and sort of remind everyone, because we will have those people angels who've been there since the beginning and followed this all along the way, and they're very, involved, engaged emotionally and financially have been. And there'll be some newcomers, very welcome to everyone. And why don't we just tell everyone, as a reminder, where it started? So it was 2011 from your perspective, is that right?
Yes. So in 2011, I started a very small soup kitchen in a community where I grew up. So I knew there was a need, and I started with between 300 and 500 cups of soup 3 times a week to children. At that point, that was the only disposable income I had from month to month. So it was about really budgeting and making sure. So I always said never less than 300, because I knew that there was, and will probably continue to be a big need in that community for food, especially to children. Now, when we started the campaign, I started with 3 schools, and then it grew to 4 schools. But that was, like I said, only the cup of soup. And then in 2015, on the, is it, what do you call the winter tour? I'm always confused. What is that tour? Is it the winter
It was
tour?
a summer tour, was it not? I think.
That's early in the year. It's in July, June,
Yeah.
July. Yeah. So I was sitting next to Ayman. I'll always be very thankful to Ayman for initiating this campaign to have grown so far. And I was just talking to him about, well, he mentioned that Naked does a free food Friday. And whatever they spend on staff, they then donate to a charity. And he asked me, do you have any charities in South Africa? There's lots. I would love to tell you about my soup kitchen, because we just closed it down because of funding problems. And I told him, and he gave me some funds, and we could feed for another 2.5 months this cup of soup to kids. And I guess he was just so impressed, and he shared it with everybody in the office, and everybody was like, how can you do that with that kind of money? And I said, in South Africa, money goes a long way. And bang, it started. He said, can't we do more? Can't we involve the angels? Can't we get people to buy into, the fact that there is a need? And in 2015, we had the first fundraiser, and there was such a lot of red tape, Ray, getting permission from government to feed at schools. They know there's a need, but we had to get permission to feed at schools. And we started in that year with 3,060 kids. We grew every year. We grew in 2020. I thought when 2020 was like the huge year, because we fed 10,310 kids. And I was like, oh my word, we did not only school feeding, we did after school feeding, we did holiday school feeding. We really went in and really made a difference. And then COVID came, and schools were closed. And I think I remember our president announcing the lockdown the Sunday. He said that the Wednesday the schools would close. And the first thing that went through my mind was, if the schools close, these kids will not be fed. So they closed the schools on the Wednesday. But since the Sunday to the Wednesday, I made contact with a few schools that was willing to pick up a phone. And I said, guys, we're bringing in a high energy cereal. Please, we need you to receive it. And they said, no, we can't. We were told to close the gates. If you come with anything, you will have to hand it outside the gates. I said, we will be there. Just make sure the kids are there. We will hand out as many as we can. And in that shorter period, I could only get one company that would stand by me and said, okay, we'll pack this for you, Carmen. We will have it ready for you by the Monday. You just need to organize the transport. So we got lots of cars, lots of friends of mine that just pitched in, and we drove to different schools and we handed out over 6,500 high energy cereal to kids.
Wow. In those 4 days.
In those 4, no, that was, the schools closed the Wednesday. We only, because they had to pack this food for them, we could only start handing out next Monday. But the kids were there. The kids were at the school gates ready to receive this food.
It's incredible, your response, your immediate, it's a natural response, Carmen. I think that is inherent in you, that you just sort of knew. It was the first thing that came to mind, that you just had to be there. And you know, actually, I caught up with Eamon earlier today, and he says hello. And you know, he was telling me about that bus trip, and in fact, just as a reminder, he typically used to put his head down, and we always sometimes put our head down as we're driving between Sheffield and Edinburgh or wherever we're going to see everyone. And that day, serendipitously, he sort of decided, no, actually, I'm not going to put my head down, looking at my laptop, and he just sort of walked down the bus and almost like a Humphrey Bogart moment said, excuse me, madam, is this seat free? And then you blushed and fluttered your eyelids and said, but of course. And so he sat down, and so the conversation went. But it was that fortuitous event that sort of led to where we are now, and fast forward to the incredible things that you've managed to achieve. But he was relaying to me the energy and excitement. You covered, as you said before, that first year where we handed over the 300 quid, 300 pounds, and how far that would go. And from there, it was the following year where we asked everyone to give up their lunch and £3. And that year we raised 61,000 pounds in 1 year, our first year. And it was just this community of angels, archangels, winemakers.
I just want to, you know, Ray, with the first fundraising, Eamon said to me, Carmen, I asked, what must I do? Surely I need to do something. All you need to do is you just need to be on your laptop and just interact with the angels, because there's going to be questions you need to be able to answer. But what I did that morning, because we had a couple, this angels from Scotland in South Africa, and they come here, they used to come here 3 times a year. So they came to see me that morning, and I said, guys, don't you want to go to a school quickly with me? And we jumped into a car, went to the school, and just took a few pictures. When I came back to the office, now the one thing that always throws me is that obviously the money that comes in is in pounds. So in my mind, I had it, if we raise in South African currency terms between 30 and 50,000 rand, then I can give each school X amount, and then they must give me the receipts. They did buy the food for the kids, and that was my thinking.
And Carmen, that's about £2,500.
Is it? Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. So I switch on my laptop and I look at this figure and I'm like, I'm not sure what this figure is. So I call the accountant of the company where I was renting space, seller space. I said, Susan, just look at this number. How much money is this? And she was like, oh my God, Carmen, it's 10 o'clock. That's 80,000 rand. I was like, oh my God, this is. Well, how can we be at 8 o'clock in the 10 o'clock in the morning and we have 80? In my mind, we were going to raise between 30 and 50. And from there on, it just exploded. So in terms of South African currency, we raised in 10 hours that first year, 1.2 million rand. That's a lot of money in South African terms. That's a lot of money. That enables a lot of food to a lot of children.
No, it's amazing, Carmen, and it's important to say that then and always and currently and going forward, and I'll tell everyone a little bit more about how things are, you know, today in 2021 where we've gotten ourselves to, but the money always went direct to food, went direct to children. No administration costs, it was always direct. So it's a lot of money, but sometimes there's bits nibbled off on the side to cover, but it was always food. It's an incredible amount, and that is purely the generosity of individuals around the UK, and actually some winemakers as well. I remember Katie Jones and Nina Stocker, Claudia Small, all just giving up their lunch, £3, and donating. So it was an amazing initial first movement, and that has, you know, snowballed, and we are where we are today. I think, Carmen, if we can, I just want to show everyone at home, I'm going to share my screen. I want to show everyone a video which sort of captures the past year and what you've achieved and the people behind it. So if everyone bears with me as I go live to share my screen, not at all, no pressure. Let's go at this, and we go boom like this. Okay. We should have sound.
What a year 2020 has been, a shocker to everybody's system. The hard lockdown meant people had no access to food and people lost their jobs. we jumped into action and delivered over 6,500 INGC meals to schools. The next month, we did food hampers to different communities. The month after that, we packed 1,000 food hampers ourselves, which was delivered again into different communities. But the police just kept on coming, and that is how we changed our focus from schools, because there was no school, to community kitchens.
This is our oasis for the children, but if there's no food, how can they develop in their fullness? Because the potential of the child needs to come forth, and food is one of the most important needs for a child.
Reflecting back on where we started in 2016, where we were only feeding 3,060 learners 2 meals a day. From the start of 2020, we are serving over 18,000 people a breakfast and a lunch through 39 community kitchens. We delivered over 223 tons of food to these kitchens, which equates to over 4.2 million plates of food that you, the angels, made possible.
I'm grateful that the Krish provides him with breakfast and lunch. There's a change in his behavior, and I know that's got to do with the meals that he receives.
In light of the economic downturn and the poverty that exists in the Western Cape, I would like to plead with you to continue to support us on this journey to feed as many people that are unable to put food on the table, it's unable to give their children a proper meal.
I can see a huge improvement in his overall development. That makes me so happy as a parent.
This food help them keep the immune system strong, keep them healthy, which help them fight this virus.
On behalf of the thousands of people that line up every day to receive a plate of food through these kitchens, I want to thank you for your generosity. I want to thank you for making it possible for us to lighten this burden of not having food. You are truly sustaining lives, and I have experienced this firsthand. Thank you.
Right, we've done amazing. Even, you know, when I sat down and I calculated what we, in terms of tonnages, first I thought that this can't be, so I recalculated, because we have to sign off all the invoices. We need to double check everything. We have such a good system in place to make sure that what is issued or what we intend to issue is the right amounts, because we work on a dietary plan. So the people get the right, how can I put the right amount of food that they need for a specific date. So it was worked out by a dietitian from the previous company that we used to work with. And so we now sit and then I said, it's impossible, over 223 tons of food. I wish I can tell you, I thought, how do I put this in a way that more people will understand? And the only thing that I could come up was, it is over 309 pallets of wine. Now a pallet holds, depending on the size of the bottle or the shape of the bottle, if it was this bottle, it's over 676 bottles per pallet. And we packed, in terms of wine, over 309 pallets. We've reached so many people. We've done, there was a few schools, but the schools are can only take about 50% of the kids because of the social distance. So when we do schools, we do mainly community kitchens, because those children that's not at school, they need that food. So we convinced mothers to open their kitchens to cook for us, so the kids in the street can get food. So at the moment, we're feeding over 18,000 people. We do a breakfast and a lunch. We are in 33 different communities. The logistics behind that is crazy, but it's worth it. It's worth it. It's just the energy that goes into making this happen. But you know what is the reassuring thing is that we had to obviously go to wholesalers to make this possible. So we sat down with wholesalers, and the first question is, this is what you are, because we have to give them a forecast. Do you have the money? Do you have the money to back this up? This is a lot of money. And to be able to say, here is, because you have to give 3 months bank statements, here is bank statements to show you that we have the money to feed these people. That, I promise you, everybody that we went to just like sat back and said, okay, that is, you are, this is secure money. You're gonna feed, we're gonna see how we can assist you in every possible way. So
That's incredibly powerful, Carmen,
yes,
to know that you
yeah.
have the money to go ahead.
And again, you know, and you know, naked has always been for the winemaker that cannot, you know, financially support or bring out a wine on its own label, and to have that support to go and say, I want this, the best grapes, I want the best barrels. This is exactly the same that happened here. We had the backing of the angels because of the funding, and we could go in and say, we want you to help us. We want this. We have the money. We need to feed these kids. We need to feed these people. And that made a huge difference. So I cannot thank the angels enough for making and putting us in a position to make this possible. This I promise you, if I look at this, listen, there's a lot of charity work going on at the moment in South Africa. There's a lot. But if I look at the huge impact we, as such a small, we that started with 300 to 500 kids, are making now because of this financial backing from the angels. It's crazy. It's incomprehensible. It's you think about it. If I tell people what we do, they're like, it's impossible. I can show you. We are doing amazing work.
And the video showed that. I mean, and Carmen, I've seen that video a couple of times, and I knew we'd be talking live to many people, but I welled up. It really moved me. I was I was teary-eyed, which I wasn't before, maybe because it was just sort of prep, but now that I'm sitting with you, listening to you, hearing you and feeling the whole movement, it's an incredibly powerful piece that you shared with us. And so thank you. I wasn't expecting to be lost for words for once. And I want to ask you about some of the people in the video and some of the background to it. But I think it's important now, just as people are, there's a lot of appreciation in the chat. There's people who are commenting. But one important piece is that people can already go, and if they would like to support, you can support. So you go to the Naked Wines website, nakedwines.com/Carmen's Kids. You'll see it there on the homepage. But a very important piece has happened since the last time we did this. I think it was March last year. Straight after that, we realized, okay, there's more we can do, but really there's an easy win, though it was not easy. But today, for anyone who wants to donate, we have, after a year of a lot of paperwork, we've made it easy for people to gift aid. And that was the establishment of the Naked Wines Charitable Trust. So we have a charity. Naked Wines established a charity, and that, as anyone who's involved as a trustee or anyone who's familiar with the world of charity, understandably, an awful lot of diligence, paperwork has gone into that. So whereas Eamon instigated this, brought it to where it is, we've raised £826,000 to date from what he kicked off. Now, as he hands over the baton to James, our skipper, he takes it forward under an umbrella of a charitable trust where we've got trustees, including Rowan, who started the business, archangels, and staff. So it's in good hands. I should give a special shout out to Alex Scott, who did, Carmen, all the work that you talk about behind the scenes. Yeah, he's a sort of an unsung hero. But so today we have that. James will take it forward. So what that really means to anyone who's listening is there's a charitable trust. It means that all of the money, as it has before, but now it's under a secure charity, is that 100% of the funds goes direct to feed the children. But the key word, the key element that we have now, and I'm going to pause for effect, so it really comes across quite sort of serious and emotional like they do in the movies. So what we really have now is gift aid. We have gift aid. Gift aid is where it's a brilliant thing that that the UK has in place is that if you are a registered charity, you can apply for gift aid where the government will add 25% of the value that you donated if you're a registered taxpayer or eligible for gift aid. So if you gave, for every two, if you put in £10, you give £12.50 or thereabouts. So what we're asking for really is, what you have is £22 will feed a child twice a day for a year, just £22.
Yes.
And it's worth noting that that was £24 last year.
Yes.
And it has gone down because the support has gone up. Simple economies of scale. You've been able to buy more, secure more. Tell me.
You're right. You're right. And well, firstly, I want to say, wow, that's amazing. So 25% on everybody that donates. Okay, I don't understand that quite well. If you give me 100 rand, you get another 25 rand.
Donated by the government.
Wow, that is really?
So if you're not in, you can't win. So it was very essential that we got stuck in and put it in place. So we have that. So if you were to donate, it's £3 is where we start off on our slider scale. You'll see on the website, and it's if you want to give £3, that came from giving up your lunch. £3. It goes up as far as £200, just so we have the effect of the scale. But really, it starts off at £22, and that's the magic number, £22. Because if you were to donate £22, you feed one child twice a day for a year. It's incredible. And if you do donate £22, actually, it'll come out as £27.50, which is just an incredible bump. That even if half the people, engage with gift aid,
Yes.
we'd feel it'll be thousands and thousands more meals that we're able to provide to children. So it's an essential. If you can gift aid, please do.
And wow, right, that is, but it's not that. I want to say this. Any amount of money makes a huge difference in South Africa. Whether it's £1 or £2, it makes a huge difference in South Africa. And I think for me, it's very important to come back to why it's now £22. If you don't mind me saying that.
Yeah.
So if you look at the money that was raised last year, we were supposed to feed 14,500 kids with that money. But we are sitting at over 18,000. And how we did that was when we started our negotiations with the wholesalers. We said, if we pay you, once we place the order, what kind of discount will we get? And I think because of the economic downturn, everybody was willing to negotiate with us to get the prices. So it might not always be that somebody's going to give us this discount, but we are quite pushy from our side when we do business with people. I think I have sharpened my negotiation skills over the year to the T. And just, being polite and smiling and say, guys, we're not doing this. We're doing this for communities that is around you. How can you assist us? So that, and obviously the currency difference, right? How strong the currency is, that also has a huge impact.
Yeah. And Carmen, we've already raised over £11,000 just since we've begun, so which is about 300,000 rand, I think, thereabouts. Let's say 200,000 rand, 220,000 rand, which is an incredible number already. Yeah, so we are off and running, thanks to everybody who's on and who just incredible generosity. Because Carmen, I mean, it's important to note and acknowledge for everyone who's tuning in, it has been a tough year for everyone around the world, but I think what you've shown us is there are different levels of challenges. And so if you can support, great. If you can't, your awareness for future years when the world bounces back in 12 months or so, then, Carmen and those kids will still be here. So at least your presence and your emotive investment is just as valuable for now. So Carmen, can we just go through, and we're going to take questions from everyone who's participating as well, but why don't we just go to some of the scenes in that video? So we saw a gentleman and a lady serving up food and people are queuing up. So who are the people? You mentioned, over 30 different kitchens around. So who are the folk that are making it happen? That's a lot of people.
Yeah, so it's 39 kitchens in 33 communities. And it's people that a lot of the people would either make contact with us, because what we did, we put something out on Facebook and said, we have fed kids at school before. We don't know how to reach these kids. We need these kids to be fed. If you want to start a community kitchen at your house, we are willing to support you on this. So a lot of the people came through like that. Some of the people we knew, some of the teachers stepped in and said, listen, I will start a kitchen for you. So, and everybody that's working in these kitchens, right? Because I said again, guys, we are here, we want to make a difference, but we're not going to pay people to feed people. So, and everybody was, no, we work as volunteers, because if we can cook the food, then we can give a plate of food to our own children as well. So everybody that's working for us or that's cooking the meals is volunteers.
That's amazing. So so teachers or individuals would basically have their own homes on a street with neighbors, and they're just turning on their kitchen, getting their gas ovens going, pumping out, and then with support from the neighbors, they're feeding the kids, forming a queue. It's amazing. It's such an incredible movement that, a charitable requirement like that has on a community and bringing people together. And
absolutely right. And just, but it is, when we started our lockdown, we had 3 really stringent lockdowns. So it had to be done so carefully not to infect. So we really tried to minimize contact with outside people. So what we did was, we would say, okay, each kitchen has a person that collects the food from the wholesaler. It will always be that one person, always. That's what we did on the one side. On the other side, when there were some people that just could not continue to do the cooking. So we then got a lot of community people said, listen, I have a car. If you cook the meal, I'll take it to the people. So even to organize that was, people just came, the community just came together like a house on fire. It just worked so well. And then when you stand there and obviously kids' preference, the kids lined up, it's actually so sad to see, when they see, when you go to the kitchens, or you go with a car, they know the car, so they come running for the food. And then around about August, September, it really got bad. So a lot of people laid off. A lot of people lost their jobs. In South Africa, it's not really, in South Africa, somebody that did not have a permanent job could make a plan and go do gardening for somebody, or wash a car, or do this. But this was out now because of the lockdown. Okay, so where people could make a plan before, there was no, that they just could not. And to see those people come to a line with a child on the arm and say, even if you can just give this child just a plate of food, I would be more than happy. And I know at some point I went to one of the feeding stations, and this man, a big, you can see this man it must have taken so much for him to come and stand in that queue for that food. But he knew that that child depended on that food. And I said, can't I offer you a plate of food? And he said, I would love to have a plate of food, but the line is so long. First feed the children. If there's anything left, I'll take it. But if there's nothing, I will understand as well. To see that and experience that's hard. That's just, yeah.
Yeah, it takes some leveling, Carmen. Why don't I, on that note, just take us to, once again, I'm going to bravely share my screen, and hopefully it all goes well. But I want to just, there's an image that you had shared. Yeah, here we go. So this is in your winery, is it?
Yeah, that's in my winery. That was we had the high instant energy cereal that was packed by another company. We had hampers that was packed by another company. And then I realized the hampers that we got is good, but we wanted to curb the infection. So we had to pack something for families that would last them at least for 4 weeks to keep them in their houses. So I said, guys, what we do now, we get the food to the seller and we pack the food according to a menu that people can prepare. So we packed, and I completely underestimated the time to pack 1,000. I thought we get it in by the Thursday, by the Friday afternoon we'll be done. We packed until the Sunday night.
Oh my God. And the weight of those bags, I mean, as in the individual sacks within a bag, that's heavy duty carry. You must be exhausted. Carmen, you're also a winemaker, am I not wrong? You've got quite a lot going on.
Yeah,
Wow.
but Ray, to see just the gratitude and just the thank yous and just you can see how thankful, because there was no other way to get food. Just remember, a lot of the shops ran out of food as well. So if you weren't there to queue up with your money in time, you didn't get food. So this came like a blessing. And I promise you, the thank you notes that we got, just the eyes of the people. I will do this 100 times again.
Yeah. Well, Carmen, you're our portal to the community, and what you can share with us from what you've experienced as you are doing now. I know it just sends it home in terms of how important this is, and it's incredible. I mean, we are able to put our hands in our pocket here and hand it over and then move on to the next thing we're doing in our day. But the logistics, the energy, the people, the humanitarian, the WhatsApp group pinging, there's so much doing it from individuals, and it's very understandable for someone to say, that's it, I can't really do anymore, I'm exhausted, or because that really has a massive toll on people. And it really is almost like a cottage industry, this charity, all the goings on below. And whilst we're fortunate to have the charitable trust in place, there's still so much important work that goes on from your perspective. The directing such an affair is enormous. So it is never underestimated, and it's never taken for granted. So we're hugely grateful, Carmen, always.
I'm grateful, Ray. I'm grateful to be able to do this, really. Yes, it takes a lot, and it takes a lot of effort and organizing, but you know that you're sustaining, you're helping a child, you're helping a family. I promise you, if you see that, if you experience that, and I think coming from that community, living in that community, knowing the need, you know that if you are able to step in some way, it's almost a must. It's not, it's not a choice.
It's a calling. You're going to be beatified. You're going to be a saint, don't you? So Carmen, there's one other photo here I have. I just want to let's see if I can expand that. So this, I don't know if you remember this day, but this was when Eamon and I joined you at one of the schools, and it took us about 15 minutes to get into the school. So it's all caged. There's security to get through to different levels, and I think one or two teachers have had their jewelry robbed from them in the previous weeks. I mean, it's quite a dangerous community that we were in. But we were there and able to see the feeding at lunch, and Eamon and I, we served up, just to be token visitors, which was a novelty, but it was good to see it. But I remember this specific girl, and she's stuck in my mind for a while, because do you remember, I think her house burned down 2 or 3 days prior to that. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They lost everything. And I don't know if you recall, but one of her teachers said that she lived with her for that week because she had nowhere else to go. The parents didn't know where to place her. Yeah, that's the reality.
That was
very sad. But a child like that, you obviously go and look for how else you can help. And I think in that case, again, funny enough, the community came together and they rebuilt that. It was what we call a Wendy house. It's made out of varnish wood.
Yeah.
They put that together for them afterwards. But yeah, that really stuck with me, and I was I'm surprised that you still have the picture. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a reminder of how fortunate we are up here, and what we have to do. But bon, we will take some questions from the Q&A, and before we do, Carmen, I just want to give a shout out to someone at Naked who, for me, and well, for many of us, I would say is the embodiment of Carmen's kids in the UK. So one of your greatest advocates, and that is Kate Kyo. She does an incredible amount of work to champion it all the way through the year, build up lots of preparations, and of course there's a great team always around everyone, but Kate really has taken this from year one, year after year after year, and actually now we are at, I think since it began, we've raised £826,000, which is an incredible amount of money, and this year it'd be amazing to break 1 million in the total donations. So fingers crossed. And remember, everyone, you can go and donate on the website and you can gift aid. So why don't we just take a look at some of the questions here. I'm going straight to the top and I'm going to read straight off that from Shirley Hooper. Is Carmen able to engage government policymakers with this problem in her country? Carmen, tell us.
There is a lot, because of the COVID, there is a lot of charities going on. There's a lot of people that is reaching out to government for help. When we first started, like I said earlier, we had to get permission to do it. But if you're referring to getting aid from government, no. If it was, make no mistake, a lot of private companies are seeing what we're doing. So we'll get some donations from private people, but not from government.
No. Okay, thank you.
And then also, sorry, Ray, if it's not the private people, we, like I said, the negotiations with the wholesalers, that's because they see what we're doing, and every month they see what we order, they see how the food goes out. So obviously we get donations from them as well to help us. Yeah.
Super. A question from Jeff. Does this work affect your ability to make a living as a winemaker? That's a good question, because I'm thinking, don't take your eye off the ball of the winemaker. You know, actually, really, if we're, you know, what really matters is humanitarian affairs, but you do also make wine. Does this work does it affect your ability to make wine?
Jeff, I want to say that we are actually a board of 6 trustees. And one of the trustees is also the coordinator that sits every day and work out and come and say, is this right? That's right. So yes, I'm always there to help and give direction. I'm always there to do the negotiations. I'm always there to say, no, this way, not that way. But unfortunately, I must still make wine to feed my own kids at home. So no, it does not affect my ability to make wine. It does take a lot of my time, but it's time that I would give for such a beautiful experience every day. No,
good on you. Well, Carmen, we're over £15,000 now already, so it's about 300,000 rand, and that will feed 700 kids for a whole year. So those of you who are present, participating, thank you very much already. It's making a massive difference. Thank you very much. So more questions while we have them. Fiona, thanks for asking your question. So does the South African government match your charitable income?
No. Never. No.
And I guess, Carmen, just, I mean, and we won't go into politics, but just so we can draw parallels or compare and contrast with the UK or Europe, let's say, and South Africa, and let's say the current government in South Africa, it's just not a done thing. Is that right? Where you can appeal to the government, say, I'm running this very important, charitable event to feed children. How can I apply for support? Is that option not there?
Okay, let me put it to you this way. We did the community kitchens the past year. We decided because schools are opening one by one now, and more kids are going back to school. So we were looking onto how to access more schools. Somehow a government official heard what we were doing, so they contacted us and asked if they can give us a list of schools where we can feed.
All right.
Yeah. So
And that one, and that one, and that one.
Yeah. I don't want to go into politics. There's a lot of corruption in South Africa, and I don't think charities is on, the forefront of giving some of that money that is taken to help other. No.
No. Okay. Thank you. We have another question, Carmen, from Duncan, and I've just managed to scan it. I think it's a fantastic question. You'll be able to relate to this. So, good evening. I know this is an emotional response for angels to an ongoing situation, but are we able to draw any correlation between Carmen's heroic efforts and an increase in academic results, kids staying in schools, etc.? How has the food influenced the success and tenure of a child at school?
Okay, so let's cut out the COVID year, but the previous years, year on year, we have seen a decrease in the dropout rate. We see more children arrive at school earlier. We see children that is more interactive in class. Aggression levels has gone down. Children have more energy to do sport. They see the school as a safe haven, and the overall result has increased, but also the child is a much happier child.
Very good. Okay, so it's an individual, it's an en masse report of better conditions, I guess you could put it under an umbrella.
Yeah, right. And then I know that everybody is reporting that COVID doesn't really hit kids, but I also believe that if a kid's immune system is not up to standard, it will hit a kid at some stage or the other. And I can only talk for before COVID. What we did see with the kids on the immune systems was, especially the girls, had less menstrual problems. Ear infections, the percentage of ear infections went down, and less kids had flus during winter. That was
greater defense.
Yeah, greater defense.
Thank you. That's something that's very, very strong sort of report on this, the influence. Carmen, we have another question. Phil, I think we've covered your question there on the government and South African government's contribution. Another one from Jenny Douglas Todd. I haven't read this, but so I will be supporting. Could I ask what else we are doing, however? Having the parents of those families involved in the wine supply chain, for example, must be a more sustainable way to help them out of poverty.
Yeah, you're right. The problem is only now that we had 3 alcohol bans during the COVID year. So a lot of those people that is and was part of the alcohol value chain has lost the income, and it's gonna take a few years to recover that. I spoke to the company that makes the bottles. Is called Consul. I spoke to them today because I wanted a quote on the wines that Naked is doing to help the South African wine industry. And they were going to give me a special, somebody was going to work out a quote to see if their furnaces can go on. So even, because I always thought maybe Consol is, you know, strong enough to withstand all of this. Even they are feeling the pinch. So the whole value chain has been affected by this year. And yes, it would be great to have people back in work, but I can also tell you, people are still losing their jobs because the tourism is not what it's supposed to be. Or the wine industry depends a lot on tourism. That's we are sitting with millions of liters in the cellar, which means that not everything can be picked or should be picked as it should be. So less work in the cellars, less wine that's bottled because there's no market outlet for all these wines. So there's yes, it would be great to be able to pull them in. And one of the things that we did do 2 years ago was to make giving food or making food available more sustainable. We did the food gardens.
Oh yeah, you did, yeah.
But with COVID, all of that fell down again because people were not allowed on premises.
And just back to Jenny's question, I mean, where you're supporting, you're pretty much in the Stellenbosch general area and the Cape wine lands around there. There's a lot of the parents would be grape pickers and winery hands and
Yes.
would work at the bottling and so on. So it is a massive, it's an industry basically. And as you just say, Carmen, as you went into harvest in say February this year, so 2 months ago, all the wine that was made in 2020 was not sold. So it still was sitting in the cellar. So it didn't have somewhere to go. So in an awful lot of cases, the grapes that had naturally grown, ready for picking, high quality, there was no point in picking them because you had nowhere to put them because that thing was full and you couldn't buy glass because glass is an expenditure because the local market was shut down, no tourism, no restaurants.
Yeah.
So it's another just terrible knock-on effect of COVID.
The knock-on effect. Right. I want to tell you something else. And I only discovered this when I harvested my Sauvignon Blanc. I never even thought of this. So I work with a lot of dry ice, CO2 in pellet form. And
to protect the grapes, is this?
Yeah. So I just assumed I'll go to the supplier and pick it up. And when I got there, they said, there hasn't been dry ice since last year because if no beer is being made in South Africa because of the alcohol ban, there's no dry ice, there's no CO2. So the knock-on, you sit there, you think, I never thought that is where dry ice comes from. The knock-on effect is humongous. It is small things that you just cannot think has always also been impacted by this. It is amazing.
Carmen, we've got another serious question here. Carmen, have you ever considered running for president? You could achieve so much. True story. So we are over £19,000 already. That's an amazing input tonight.
Crazy.
Isn't that?
That is phenomenal.
We're talking for about 40-50 minutes, and that's very generous. Thank you very much, everyone, and tell your friends and gift aid. Okay, so it'd be good just to have a few more questions, Carmen, before we run out of time. But this is from Jed Thomas. I'd like to ask Carmen's advice, please. What, in your opinion, is the most effective way to get communities to engage with what you are trying to achieve? And how important is it to be fully open about your operation? So full disclosure, I guess, of costs, times, and execution. So question, was the most effective way to get communities to engage with what you're trying to achieve? And how important is it to be fully open about your operation?
Well, the first thing, fully open about the operation, that has always been on the table. You know, I pride myself in to say that not even the administration cost comes out of the funds that we receive to feed kids. That goes actually through my company. None of our trustees get paid, because when I asked them to be trustees, I said, if you want, I would love you to come aboard, but this is a charity, so I'm not going to pay you to do charity work. So, and I mean, even we make payments, we try to minimize the amount of payments that we do, not to have too many bank costs. So transparency is very important to us. And also, I think what's important here is that we are 3 trustees that must sign off money. It's not just one person that clicks a button and they pay something. So I would load it. Somebody else, the other trustee, would say, yes, I have the invoice in front of me. It correlates with what's on the invoice. And then the other one clicks yes, it goes through. So I hope that answers the transparency question.
And how do you engage community? How do you engage the community?
Engage communities. I think, I think to firstly have a community that opens their houses for people to cook and deliver food. That in itself, I think, takes a lot out of it. I mean, these are 120-liter pots that people cook in. So I think that for people to commit to doing that,
Yeah.
There must be an engaging factor. They must see the value in what we are trying to achieve. Again, I must say that it's important to note that it's very important to still have the social distancing. So we try not to move into other people's space too much. So even if people offered to come and help and cook, you need to be screened, you need to do this, and putting that process in place is a little bit difficult. If I'm standing in Stellenbosch in the cellar and she lives 15 or 20 minutes from me. So what I want to say, to engage people, for me, that engagement is people that's willing to cook and to hand out that food and to make sure that people that comes to that line is not infected. That for me,
That's essential. Yeah. Carmen, we'll do a couple of quick questions. So from Terry, I have a few friends in South Africa who would like to volunteer and help. How can they get in touch with you to offer support?
So many people want to do that. And if the COVID is over, by all means, but how do I send somebody into a community that I'm not even sure? And like I said earlier, even for you to cook, you need to be screened. You can't just arrive and help cook and hand out food, because there is protocol in place. So I would say after COVID is over, yes, doing that at schools is easier, like you and Ayman did, but going into a community, somebody else's house, that's a bit, for me, would be too risky.
And so once COVID is over, please God, any day, well, soon, what would someone do? Can they contact you, maybe post on your wall? Yeah. And
when we're in South Africa, in South Africa, what I obviously need to arrange with schools, if people are coming onto the grounds, set the time like I did with you and Ayman, and yes, by all means, they can help dish up food.
So they can contact you through the Naked Wines website, post on your wall, and pick it up with you from there. Good. Question from Robin about how chilly it is there. We talked about that earlier, Carmen. It's cold there, it's cold here, it's cold everywhere. Is that the case?
It's getting cooler. It's a much cooler vintage. It is
not a bad thing.
Yeah, February was, normally we have 3 heat waves in January. We didn't have them. Did not have them.
Well, you'll take that. A nice question here from John. How many children do you think we can support this year? How many were supported last year?
Last year, we fed 18,160.
A day?
Yeah, a breakfast. Yeah.
That's incredible.
So, listen, it would be great to be able to feed this, to keep that number. If it can be increased, even better, because I promise you, the need is so big. This week we sent out WhatsApp messages to our kitchens and said, guys, we just want to inform you that the schools, as the schools are opening now, we're going to move away from the kitchens, community kitchens, back into schools. And the response was like, if you please, even if it was just for half of the amount of people that you're feeding at our kitchen now, because the need is still so big, there's still people without a job. So it would be great to increase that number. But if we can even just keep the 18,000 would be amazing.
Amazing. Why don't we finish with this one from Kate, not our Kate, I think, but which meal is the kids' favorite?
The fish.
The fish. That'd be my favorite.
Yes, they have a biryani. I don't know if you know what a biryani is. It's like it was with rice and meats
biryani.
and
Yeah.
But this is with fish, so that is the absolute favorite.
Wow, a lot of protein. That's amazing. Well, Carmen,
Yes.
on that note, we've broken the £20,000 mark, about 400,000 rands, and we are looking at somewhere over 900 kids fed with just that amount. So everyone who has participated tonight has already contributed to feeding over 900 kids for a year. It's amazing. Just this hour with you, Carmen, has been, well, for me, it's been an emotional roller coaster, more than I expected it would be. And but we are just at the beginning of this season of feeding children in South Africa raised by your charity, Carmen's Kids, and now with Naked's charity trust, that we can apply the gift aid in there and hopefully add that extra value in there. It's been amazing, Carmen. Thanks for telling us about it. And stand by, we'll be able to watch, you'll be able to see on the website over the coming days. For the next sort of 2 weeks, you'll see where we're getting to on this. And then at the end of the 2-week period, we'll send a message out just letting you know what the total was, what this means, how you've contributed, what role you've played in it. It's been a great one, Carmen. Thank you. And thank you everyone for participating.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to all the angels. Thank you to all the Naked staff that's behind making all this possible. Thank you for your generosity in every way, in the kind words that I'm reading here. Thank you so much. It is so much appreciated. And Ray, thank you. You've been a fantastic host.
Thank you very much. Here to serve. Lovely to see you, Carmen.
Same.
Good night. Take care.
Night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for participating. Bye-bye.